Some breaking news with Daniel Guzman, the 9-year-old that lost his life. It is said that he died a hero, trying to protect his mother.
Él murió porque quiere defender a su mamá.
Now telling NBC News his son died because he was trying to protect his mom, saying that the child saw her fall and ran toward her.
Do you believe he'll be caught?
Espero que sí.
Part 2 on what happened to 4-year-old Luz Gonzalez and how she was killed while her mother tied her shoes. So police pull over Jeanette. They tell her that she just ran over 2 people and that she fled the scene, and then they just let her go. She gets back inside her car, she drives away, and she heads over to a family barbecue and she enjoys the rest of her Sunday. As if nothing happened, as if she didn't just run over a 4-year-old girl and her mother. Meanwhile, Luz and her mother are immediately rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately, Luz did not make it. Doctors did everything they could to save Luz's life, but unfortunately her injuries were way too severe. Luz passed away, and now her mother Reina was just left there wondering what to do next. Police informed Jeanette that she has now killed a 4-year-old girl, and she continues to deny everything. She says she has no idea that she ran over anybody or hit anything, but yet when you watch the surveillance video, you can clearly see her take a pause after hitting them, so she obviously knew that she hit something. 2 days after the incident, a family friend of Jeanette's came out and said she doesn't really know what happened. She wants to talk to them, the family, when the time comes. This family friend also said that she was absolutely broken by what had happened. Even after looking at the surveillance video of Jeanette running over Luz and her mother, police decided to not charge her with anything. This immediately caused an uproar in the community, and over 200 people gathered together to march and demand justice. No one understood how this lady was free. I mean, she literally ran over 2 people and killed a 4-year-old girl. Yet nothing was happening to her. She wasn't arrested, she wasn't put in jail, nothing. This is when rumors started to circulate that Jeanette actually had a brother that was a police officer. And because of her brother, that's how she was able to avoid charges. There never has been any type of confirmation that Jeanette does have a brother that works for the police force, but that's what a lot of people believe. There are also rumors stating that Jeanette's brother and her family had threatened Luz's family and said, if you continue to press charges against us, we will call ICE and get you deported. This mother is grieving the death of her 4-year-old daughter. She had to witness this brutal incident, and if those rumors are true and the family was threatening to report her to ICE, that's just insane. This honestly scared Reina and the rest of her family. They didn't want to make more noise about this because they were worried that they would get deported. After Luz was killed, she was flown to Mexico to be buried there, and her parents didn't even go because they feared deportation. It just breaks my heart that they couldn't even go bury their child. To this day, in May of 2023, there is no real justice for 4-year-old Luz Gonzalez. According to some articles, Jeanette's license was revoked, and in 2020, just 2 years after Luz's death, the district attorney announced that they were going to charge her with failure to exercise due care. I haven't really seen an update since 2020, so I don't know if they actually charged her. I don't know if she did get any type of punishment, nothing. It just breaks my heart that Luz was killed in such a brutal way and has received no justice. There is a petition open to get justice for Luz Gonzalez, so I will keep you guys posted if anything else happens with her case. Please just stay vigilant and be more aware of your surroundings while driving.
I am Chris Watts. Unfortunately, I will not be winning any Father of the Year awards anytime soon. Before I get started, let me warn you, this won't be easy to listen to. I will not hold back from telling my gruesome story. When I met Shannon Watts, she was struggling with health problems. It was 2010, and I was just a guy browsing Facebook when I came across her profile. I decided to send her a friend request, and to my surprise, she accepted. We started talking, and before I knew it, we had been talking for months. Eventually, we decided to meet up, and things just clicked between us. 8 years later, we were married with 2 beautiful daughters and another baby on the way. We moved to Colorado and started building our family. Our first daughter, Bella, was born in 2013, and Shannon was over the moon with excitement. She loved Bella so much and cherished every moment with her. Then, in 2015, our second daughter, Celeste, was born. Shannon was thrilled to be able to have another child despite her battle with lupus. She cherished every moment with Celeste and saw her as a blessing. In 2018, we found out that Shannon was pregnant again with a baby boy she planned to name Nico. By all outward appearances, our marriage was strong. But in the summer of 2018, Shannon noticed that things had changed between us. She texted a friend on August 7th, saying that I had changed, and she didn't know who I was anymore. I hadn't been touching her, kissing her, or talking to her. We'd never had a problem like this before, and she was just so upset that she wanted to cry. On August 13, 2018, Shanann and the girls disappeared, and I was the last person to see them. I gave a series of interviews, pleading for their safe return. But on August 16, Shanann's body was found on the property where I worked. Bella and Celeste were found later that day in oil tanks nearby. I was arrested on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of tampering with a body. While in police custody, I claimed that I told Shanann that I wanted to separate, and when I went downstairs, I saw her strangling Celeste. Bella's lifeless body was nearby, and I just ran upstairs in a rage and strangled Shanann. But the cops didn't believe my story. They said that it didn't match the evidence they had, and they believed that I killed them all. They soon learned that I was having an affair with a co-worker named Nicole Kessinger. She cooperated with the police and told them that she believed that I was going through an amicable divorce. Before coming forward, Kessinger had worried about the public shaming that she might face, and she even searched online about Amber Fry, the woman who had an affair with Scott Peterson, the infamous killer who murdered his wife, Lacey, and their unborn child in 2002. The real story was: I strangled Shanann in our bed on August 13, 2018, after I told her our marriage was over and she said I would never see our children again. It was a moment of pure anger and frustration, and I just couldn't control myself. Our daughter Bella came into the bedroom clutching a blanket and asked what was wrong with Mom. I just told her that Shanann wasn't feeling well. Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant with our 3rd child at the time. After I strangled her, I rolled up her body in a sheet and put it on the floor of the back seat of my truck before placing our 2 girls in the back seat. I didn't plan to kill our 3- and 4-year-old daughters, but I drove out to an oil work site roughly 40 miles from our home. Once we got there, I smothered both of our daughters before dropping their bodies into separate oil tanks. I remember how Bella desperately tried to save herself, and out of all 3, she was the only one that put up a fight. I did all of this because I wanted to be with my mistress of 2 months, Nicole Kessinger. I couldn't handle the thought of losing her, and I was willing to do anything to be with her. I was caught and confessed to the murders just hours after appealing for help to a TV audience. I pleaded guilty to the murders during a court appearance on November 6, and was sentenced on November 19. I was handed 5 life sentences for the murders without the possibility of parole. The house where I murdered Shanann remains in legal purgatory and sits empty. Our story garnered national attention, and a 2020 Netflix documentary called American Murder: The Family Next Door was created around it. It examines the lead-up to the horrific triple homicide and includes never-before-seen footage and text messages. In a confession letter written from jail, I described how I got our daughters into the oil tanks. I tossed Shanann's body face-first into the hole, which forced her to partly give birth to our dead fetus, who was to be a son named Nico. I then forced Celeste's body through an 8-inch hatch in one of the tankers, and I couldn't believe how easy it was to just let her drop through the hole and let her go. I heard the splash as she hit the oil. As for Bella, her last words were, "Daddy, no," when I smothered her. It breaks my heart every time I think about it. Hundreds of mourners assembled to pay their final respects to Shanann, our daughters, and our unborn son, Nico. I pleaded guilty to their slayings in exchange for being spared a possible death sentence.
What the hell?
So,
Who are you? Dad! Dad!
I'm in the program. I got blood all over my shirt, so I can call it
Dad! Hang out! There's some guy up here with blood all over him. Walk to that fucking house.
Yes,
What do you want the program? What fucking program?
doing?
Fuck out of here.
Okay, turn around and get the fuck out of my house.
I apologize. I'm sorry. I ripped my hands
The
off.
fuck?
Dude, I'm just walking motherfucker him, you shot.
Fuck out of here.
This is sad. A married police officer has been arrested after shooting his side chick 5 times until she died. What is ironic is when the police officer was asked, he claimed he did not mean to kill her. What? How do you not mean to kill someone when you shoot them 5 times? How? On the 20th of April 2023, 26-year-old Victoria Dapa, popularly called Maodua, was at home with her family when she got a phone call from her police boyfriend, Inspector Ahmed Tumasi. Her brother asked her where she was going and she said that she would be back shortly. This was around 9 p.m. in the night. And that was how Victoria went to meet her boyfriend. It was said they had a slight conversation that turned into an argument. And somewhere along the line, in an instant, he brought out a pistol and fired at her 5 times before fleeing the scene. Sources said she was rushed to the hospital but was dead on arrival. At the initial time, it was said this was a crime of passion. Sources claimed that Inspector Ahmed was suspecting Victoria of cheating on him, which is quite ironic given that this man is a married man with family. I don't understand why a married man would expect a young single girl to be faithful to him, whereas he's not being faithful to his own wife. He was arrested 3 days later and was charged to court, where he was asked why he took the young girl's life, but claimed he did it because of money.
On April the 19th of 1993, several CEVs began to encircle the compound and punch holes within the walls of the building. Earlier that morning, the FBI had called and said this is your last chance, which again had been 51 days at this point, and they watched as someone threw the phone that they were previously negotiating with out the front door. Supposedly, the FBI took this as the go-ahead. The tanks that had made these holes began pumping CS gas, a type of tear gas, into the structure. Whenever the gas began pumping into the building, the women and children made their way to a bunker located at the side of the building itself. During this time, someone reaches out the front door and pulls the phone back in. They also begin waving a white flag outside of an upstairs window, as well as a banner that said, "We want our phones fixed." It now seems that the reason that they wanted to get in contact with the FBI was because the bunker that the women and children were inside of had had its entrance and underground tunnels destroyed by the tanks.
State Police 911.
Yeah, you got a guy driving south on the northbound Taconic Parkway. Ooh, Maron, I was in the left lane. Just past Pleasantville Road. He's going like a bat out of hell. He should be already on the Spain Parkway right now. It's a minivan.
State Police 911, where's your emergency?
Hi, I'm on the Constable, sitting on the sawmill.
The van that's going southbound?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going out for it. State Police 911.
Oh my God, Dad, I'm shit, been an accident. What road are we on?
What mile mark are you at?
What road are we at? What road is this? Pleasant Road.
What? Hold on, stop yelling.
Oh, shit. 911.
Listen, I'm an Elk City, New York City police officer.
Okay, are you out at the scene right now?
Yes, I'm at the scene.
Okay, are there any injuries?
We have fatalities.
Fatality at the scene?
We have
Okay, stay on the phone with me. I'm going to give you EMS, okay? Hold on.
Okay. So in ambulance too, we have a possible car fire. Car may blow up as well.
So there's a car fire and a fatality?
Yeah, we have numerous fatalities.
Numerous fatalities?
We have one.
This is at 4.1 northbound Taconic, 60 control.
This woman is about to be executed. Guess what her last words were? This is Guo Shang. For reference, that is probably nowhere close to the actual Chinese pronunciation, but I heard somebody saying it before this and I tried to copy him. Sorry. She was an aspiring nurse, but she never officially went to nursing school or med school, so she worked a part-time temp position at a local hospital, trying to climb up the ranks and support her family. At this point in the story, she is 22. One man in particular basically ran this hospital. His name was Dr. Fong Weijiao. Again, that's as close as my little English tongue is gonna get. He was actually poor growing up, but he had such good grades that he was invited to study in the US. He researched at Harvard, and then in 2004, he was actually called back by his alma mater to work at a hospital there. His wife could not conceive of this though, and they divorced despite having kids. He was treated like a god at this hospital. One of these people who gave him these excited greetings every day was Guo Shuang. So when he had his birthday party in 2006, he invited her. But soon enough, Shuang noticed something was wrong. She was very dizzy and tired, even though she hadn't drank enough to be that way. Dr. Fong basically just laughed it off with the rest of his coworkers, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go take this little silly temp worker home." Shuang woke up the next morning in his bed. Very quickly, she realized what had happened and she just started sobbing. He was kind of surprised at this, as he didn't think that she would get so emotional. I mean, he was her superior, so he kind of just thought that she would put her tail between her legs and leave. He basically said, if you hush up and leave now, I'll give you full time. She left that morning without saying anything, but as she thought it over, she realized, at least I can get something out of this trauma. She ended up going back to him and sleeping with him again, and she was promoted to full-time, just without the typical benefits. There was healthcare and a lot of other benefits that came with being a full-time employee. She didn't get any of those, but she was just happy to be making more money to support her family. A lot of people have victim blamed her because of this, saying that she couldn't have really been traumatized if she went back to him, and I just want to make it very clear that it's actually really common for SA victims to do that. It's they want to take control of their own narrative, and they want to take their power back by going back and making it their choice to sleep with the SAer this time. Sometimes it's just to minimize the trauma, if I went back, then I obviously wasn't that traumatized in the first place, kind of gaslighting yourself. I don't know, even if you don't understand those reasons personally, please understand and keep the comment section civil, because trauma is a very individualized and personal thing. I mean, we don't have to understand our own trauma responses, it's such a complex subject. Anyway, so soon she started dating this boy, and I mean boy, because at this point she's 23, he's 18. This one's the hardest name. It's Wang Zijin, I think. She got pregnant, and obviously it wasn't his, so she went back to Dr. Fong, and he was livid. He was freaking out. He dragged her to get rid of it right then and there. And when Shuang told her new boyfriend this, he was red angry. The two kind of disagree about who originally planned or decided this, both of them lying and saying it was them to protect the other one, but somehow the plan to kill Dr. Fong was made. So they met up with Dr. Fong, and they got into the car where she was the driver. They picked up Zijin, who went into the back of the car, and then they were driving really, really far away, and so Dr. Fong is getting kind of nervous. After they got him to a secluded spot, they basically said, "You will give Shuang a full-time job, all of the benefits, and in whatever department that she wants to work in, or we will kill you." Dr. Fong said, "I don't even have the power to do that, even if I wanted to," and they said, "Okay, you're gonna die." Zijin then took a scalpel from behind his seat to Dr. Fong's neck. He was spurting blood, but then he managed to escape before being chased down and basically hammered to death by Zijin. When the couple were caught, they just admitted it. They both protected each other as much as they could during questioning, still adamantly in love. They originally both had execution sentences, but his was actually commuted down to life in prison. This was Guo Shang's response.
就像你昨天说的，希望他们留下来，你如愿让他留下来了。真的？为什么会那么高兴？他怕了缓刑。
30 minutes after this, she's executed, by the way.
有什么跟爸妈说的？
30 minutes.
妈妈，对不起。希望你。
Zijin still maintains that he does not blame Shuang and that he acted of his own volition. The response to this case was very, hot and cold. A lot of people will be more victim blaming and say, "Oh, well, she was just sleeping with her boss and wanted to cover it up." And then the other half of people think that an execution was not necessary because the person who deserved to be dead was already dead. And I mean, obviously I do have limited sympathy for literal murderers, but it is interesting watching this clip and the morality debate that it brings up, it's very humanizing when we just think of murderers as monsters.